You are deep in the flow of work. The outside world is completely melted away. You are about to finish a critical function. And then the screen suddenly halts.
Yeah, your momentum just slams into a brick wall.
A little message pops up on your screen. You've reached your limit. It is that sudden, momentum-killing moment. You stare at it, completely paralyzed.
It stops your entire thought process cold.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we are focusing on a very clear mission. We are exploring a comprehensive guide together. It is all about mastering Claude token usage. And to be clear right up front, this is not about upgrading your subscription plan.
Exactly. Throwing money at the problem rarely solves the underlying issue.
We are looking at 18 practical habits. These habits help you cut massive amounts of waste. They help stretch your daily sessions significantly. You can stay in that flow state much longer, and you accomplish it without spending an extra dollar.
It's entirely about understanding the machine you are operating.
To fix this frustrating limit problem, we need a baseline. We have to understand the invisible physics of how AI reads. So let's start with the absolute foundation. We need to define a token. A token is a tiny piece of text, like a syllable or short word.
Right. It is the fundamental unit of measurement, but the real issue is how the AI processes those tokens. It is not like human memory at all.
This brings us to the snowball effect of context. From what I'm reading here, the architecture is totally stateless. Every time you send a new message, Claude rereads everything. It rereads the entire conversation history from scratch.
It has no persistent memory of your previous messages. When you hit send, it packages up the whole chat. It sends the entire transcript back to the server.
So let's walk through the actual math of that. Your first message might read one page of text, but by your 20th message, things have changed. Message 20 forces the system to reread 19 past messages. A 500 token session quietly balloons into a 20,000 token monster.
It compounds rapidly. The growth is exponential, not linear. Most people treat the interface like a standard messaging app. That is a massive architectural misunderstanding.
It is like carrying every conversation you've ever had into a new room. It just gets incredibly heavy.
Neat.
Does treating the AI like a rapid-fire text thread actually punish you?
Yes, because every short message forces a massive, expensive reread of the history. You are paying the toll for the entire highway. You pay it every single time you move forward 1 inch.
So rapid-fire chatting secretly maxes out your entire memory budget.
Precisely. You burn through your daily limits in 20 minutes without realizing it. 2-sec silence.
Since carrying all that history is so expensive, we need a strategy. The first logical step is dropping the luggage before you start.
You have to start clean. That is an absolute requirement for long sessions.
The documentation points to the /clear command. You are supposed to use this for every new distinct task. For example, say you finish fixing a complex login bug. Now you are shifting over to adjust the footer CSS.
Right, and you shouldn't keep working in that same window. The CSS task does not need to know about your database logic.
Exactly. Starting a fresh chat drops token costs dramatically. By wiping the slate, you go from thousands of tokens back down to hundreds. But history is not the only thing weighing down the session. We also need to discuss disconnecting unused MCP servers. Let's define what those are. Connected background tools that give the AI access to external data.
They're incredibly powerful. You can link your calendar, your local database, or a web search tool, but they hide a massive invisible cost.
The guide explains that leaving tools like Google Calendar connected is dangerous. The same goes for local database search tools. They can silently add up to 15,000 tokens per message. I have to admit something here. I still wrestle with prompt drift myself, and honestly, leaving tools connected out of laziness.
We all do it. You connect a GitHub integration on Monday. By Wednesday, you are writing an email, and that integration is still running in the background.
But I want to understand the mechanics of that waste. Why do background tools drain the budget, even if we don't ask about them?
Because their full tool definitions are attached to every single message you send. The AI needs to know exactly how to use the tool, just in case you ask. That instruction manual is heavy.
Disconnecting unused background tools instantly reclaims thousands of wasted tokens.
It's the fastest way to drop your payload weight. 2-sec silence.
Once you clear the unnecessary background noise, the environment changes. But you also have to rethink how you actually talk to the model.
You got to shift from a conversational mindset to an engineering mindset.
If we look at typical user behavior, it is very fragmented. The instinct is to send single, rapid-fire requests. You type, summarize this, and hit enter, then find bugs, and hit enter, then fix them, and hit enter.
And based on what we just discussed, that is a disaster. Every time you hit enter, you trigger that massive historical reread.
Instead, you should batch those instructions. You need to combine them into a single multi-step prompt. You save multiple rounds of history reading instantly. But the guide introduces something even more structured called plan mode.
This is a phenomenal workflow. It forces the AI to slow down and think.
You ask Claude to list the necessary steps first. You literally command it to ask you clarifying questions before it writes any code.
You're creating a buffer. You want to verify its logic before it executes anything.
Because if it jumps the gun, it generates 200 lines of the wrong JavaScript. And here's the real penalty. That bad code now sits in your history. It burns your tokens on every subsequent message forever.
Yeah, it becomes permanent dead weight in your session. The AI will even try to reference its own bad code later on.
How do we stop the AI from rushing into writing bad code?
You explicitly command it to outline a plan and wait for your approval. You make approval a hard gate in the prompt.
Asking for a plan prevents expensive code rewrites from polluting your history.
It keeps your context window incredibly clean and highly focused. 2-sec silence.
So now you are prompting efficiently and batching your requests. But you still need proper instrumentation. You need to see how much fuel you actually have left in the tank.
Visibility is everything.
Yeah.
You cannot manage a system if you cannot see its internal state.
The system has a /context command built in. This command shows you exactly what is filling up your current window. It breaks down the history, the attached files, and the connected tools.
And paired with that is the /cost command. That one shows your raw token count and the actual money spent.
The guide strongly highlights the 80% rule. You should wrap up or clear the session when your context capacity hits exactly 80%.
You really do not want to push it to 99%. The performance degradation is real.
To monitor this, you can set up a terminal status line. Think of it like a phone battery indicator. Seeing the juice run low naturally makes you work more efficiently. It creates a subtle psychological shift.
It changes your behavior dynamically. When you see a red battery icon, you dim your screen. You need that same instinct here.
You should also keep the Anthropic usage dashboard open in a separate browser tab. It helps you see exactly when your daily limits will reset. But let's go back to that specific threshold. Why wait until exactly 80% capacity to wrap up the session?
Because past that point, the system is carrying too much weight to be efficient. The AI's attention mechanism starts to dilute, and it begins forgetting earlier instructions.
Monitoring your context acts like a fuel gauge for your daily productivity.
It puts you firmly in control of your daily work rhythm. 2-sec silence.
You know your fuel limits now. But managing the files you upload is just as critical. Throwing whole files at the AI is like driving with the parking brake on.
It is the most common error new developers make. They think providing more data is always better.
You should never paste an entire 1,000-line file for a single bug. If the bug is in the authentication logic, you only need to paste the exact 10 lines that actually matter.
When you paste 1,000 lines, the AI has to process all of it. It has to figure out what matters and what is just noise. That burns compute power unnecessarily.
Small, targeted input leads to faster, cheaper, and vastly more accurate output. The guy also mentions keeping your Claude.md file extremely lean.
That file is meant to be a navigational tool, not a storage unit.
It should be kept under 200 lines. It operates as a map pointing to other files. It is absolutely not a dumping ground for raw data or massive logs. Every word in that file costs you compute on every single message.
Right. And you need to be precise about how you call other files.
You use the @ symbol to be extremely specific. For example, you type @authservice.-es. This targeted referencing prevents Claude from burning tokens by blindly searching the entire codebase.
You have to guide it directly to the problem area. Do not make it guess where the logic lives.
And crucially, you must watch the screen while Claude actually works. You need to catch infinite loops early. If a test fails, the AI might keep trying the same broken solution.
If you walk away to get a drink, it might read the same failing file 20 times in a row.
Is it really that harmful to just upload the entire project folder?
Yes, because it overwhelms the context window before the actual work even begins. It dilutes the attention mechanism entirely.
Dumping whole files forces the AI to search unnecessarily and burns your budget.
It is the fastest way to hit your limit prematurely and degrade response quality. 2-sec silence.
We're going to take a short break right here. Sponsor.
And we're back.
Even with highly precise files, long sessions eventually get very heavy. We need to discuss how you manage the passage of time and session decay.
This is where daily budgets quietly fall apart for most advanced users.
The guide outlines a strategy for compacting your session at 60% capacity. You literally tell Claude to summarize all the concrete progress made so far.
You ask it for the current state of the code and the remaining tasks.
Then you take that dense summary and use it as the foundational prompt. You start a fresh session with it, you drop all the messy conversational history. Next, we have to discuss the cache rule. Let's define prompt caching, a feature remembering recent data so you pay less to reread.
It's a brilliant architectural feature. It pre-computes the heavy data, so subsequent turns are lightning fast and dirt cheap.
But there is a massive catch to this architecture. Crucially, the memory cache expires after just 5 minutes of inactivity.
Server RAM is incredibly expensive. Anthropic cannot keep your massive context loaded in active memory forever.
Step away from your desk for 10 minutes and it drops everything it cached. You also have to aggressively watch out for large command outputs. Things like 500 lines of NPM test logs. They clutter the active history incredibly fast.
Whoa, imagine the pure compute power wasted just rereading 500 lines of irrelevant error logs over and over. It's mind-boggling when you scale that up globally.
It is staggering to think about the underlying server racks just crunching dead text. So walking away to grab a coffee actually breaks the memory cache.
Exactly. If you're gone longer than 5 minutes, the next prompt pays full price. You have to rebuild the entire pre-computed state from scratch.
A 10-minute break resets the memory cache and severely spikes your immediate costs.
You have to time your breaks carefully, finish the immediate session before you walk away. 2-sec silence.
Managing the session parameters is vital, but managing which specific AI mind you invite to the session is the ultimate budget multiplier.
You do not always need the absolute heaviest, most intelligent model for every single job.
First, we need to reframe hitting the limit. Hitting the limit is not a failure. It actually means you are doing real, substantive work. But you should not overuse the heaviest model just because it is available.
Let's break down the actual model tiers. Haiku is built for simple tasks, text routing, and basic formatting.
It is fast and cheap. Then you have Sonnet. Sonnet is really for daily coding and standard logic problems.
And finally, Opus. Opus is reserved for deep architectural planning and truly complex problem solving.
Using Opus to write a simple regex is a waste. It is like using a supercomputer to calculate a restaurant tip. We also need to discuss the massive hidden cost of sub-agents. Agentic workflows jump 7 to 10 times in total computing cost.
That is a staggering premium to pay for automation.
It happens because of the underlying architecture. Every time a main agent spins up a sub-agent to do research, that sub-agent needs context. It needs its own full copy of the context window.
It duplicates the data payload across multiple parallel API calls. It adds up remarkably fast.
Are sub-agents ever actually worth that massive 7 to 10 times cost markup?
Only for massive research jobs or complex refactoring across multiple files. Otherwise, single sessions are better.
Save expensive agent workflows for massive multi-file research tasks that truly need them.
For everyday development, a single focus session is always the vastly smarter choice. 2-sec silence.
Beyond the specific model you choose, physical time matters immensely. The physical time a day you choose to sit down and work actually changes the machine's efficiency.
This is a fascinating variable that most developers completely ignore.
The infrastructure is dealing with global traffic patterns. The guide advises working during off-peak hours whenever possible. You should aggressively avoid 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Eastern Time.
Server volumes are absolutely massive during those specific business hours. Millions of people are logging on simultaneously.
During those peak times, the system employs dynamic compute allocation. The limits feel significantly tighter. The text responses actually get slower. You should push your heavy analytical tasks to evenings or weekends.
It makes the exact same daily budget stretch so much further. It is a brilliant hack.
Does the sheer server load actually impact how far our daily tokens stretch?
Yes. When fewer people are hitting the servers, processing is smoother and limits feel more forgiving. The system does not have to throttle you to maintain global stability.
Working during off-peak hours makes your daily token budget stretch significantly further.
It costs you absolutely nothing to shift your heavy processing schedule slightly. 2-sec silence.
Let's pull back and synthesize the core philosophy here. Looking at all these mechanical details, most people do not actually have a token problem. They have a habits problem.
That is the ultimate takeaway from understanding this architecture. The machine only amplifies your existing workflow.
The difference between a frustrating 30-minute session and a deeply productive 2-hour session is profound. It comes down to starting cleanly by running/clear. It requires tracking your system health, by checking/context. And it demands upfront planning. You have to ask for discrete steps before executing code.
Small, deliberate decisions compound positively, just like the token costs compound negatively.
Even as AI hardware improves and context windows eventually become massive, won't these exact same habits, clarity, precision, and minimizing noise, still be the defining line between a messy human thinker and an exceptional one?
That is a powerful question to end on. Better tools do not fix sloppy thinking. They just process that sloppiness faster. Precision will always be the most valuable human skill.
When that screen halts and says you've reached your limit, it doesn't have to be the end of your momentum. With these structural habits in place, it just means you had a truly productive day of focused engineering. Thank you for taking this deep dive with us. Keep your context clean and stay in the flow.